The world of European comics, bande dessinée, is beautiful and vast, and I have selected a group of books and series or authors that I believe are some of the very best um, the European comics scene has to offer. Um, I am not talking about the older European comics like Tintin and Asterix and Lucky Luke and so many others. I will show you mainly um, more recent books or from the 1970s onwards. Um, and you should know that by bande dessinée, I am referring essentially to books produced specifically to the Franco-Belgian market. So in this video I will leave out the Italian fumetti and everything done by British authors. Um, and you should also know that all the books I'm going to show are Portuguese editions. Um, my French is not good enough for me to fully appreciate the nuances in the writing. Um, but I know most of these books have been translated into English, and I will try to provide the English title. Although I have no idea how easy or hard it is for these to be found in the American market, nor do I know in which format were they presented. When someone asks me about bande dessinée, I always start by recommending these two books. Indian Summer, written by Hugo Pratt with art by Milo Manara, and also by the same duo, El Gaúcho. These are two of my favorite works. I believe that in both these books, the best of Pratt and Manara comes out. Manara is a magnificent artist, very well known for his erotic, sometimes even pornographic style, but in here he is considerably subdued by the very sensitive and poetic writing of Hugo Pratt. The Indian Summer, is about some of the first European settlers in North America and their relation with the Indians, while El Gaúcho is about the late 18th century invasion of Argentina by the British. Hugo Pratt, the writer of those two books, is also the author of the very well-known Corto Maltese. And Pratt was not only a magnificent writer, but also a very, very good artist. And Corto Maltese is his most famous creation and one of the most famous heroes of European bande dessinée. For those interested in Milo Manara's work, I would recommend this one. In English, it's called The Golden Ass, but I have to warn you that this has some elements of zoophilia, as the main protagonist of the series is transformed into a donkey, an ass, but nevertheless, this is an absolutely beautiful book, and I believe a very good starting point to find more about Milo Manara. But I could also recommend the Borgia series, written by Jodorowsky, with art by Milo Manara, which is also a very, very nice series to follow, and a more recent one. When we are talking about erotism in European bande dessinée, which is a very common theme, there's always an obligatory mention to Guido Crepax and Valentina. But I'm sure you can learn more about this from the amazing videos of Gore Vidal. And there should also be some mention to other authors like Sarpieri, the creator of Druna, another very beautiful female hero. On the noir side, on the crime noir genre, I would recommend Torpedo 1936 by the Spanish Sanchez Abuli, and initially art by Alex Toth, and later on by the also Spanish Jordi Bernet. This is a very grim, ruthless kind of character, and it's absolutely lovely. And another book, a more recent one in the genre noir style, is the Black Sad series, also by two Spanish authors, Diaz Cañales and Juanjo Guarnido, about this anthropomorphic world in the 1950s in the US, and the adventures of Black Sad, a detective. Then we have Shanazde, but I made a video specifically about this one, so I will refer you to that video. Sergio Topi, one of the geniuses of European comics, and Jacques Tardy, a French author well known by the adventures of Adèle Blanc-Sec. Another author I enjoy very much is Bourgeon. He is a great researcher and world creator, and a very fine artist. Then a very popular genre also in the European bande dessinée is the Western, the cowboys and such kind of stories. And this is Western by Van Am and Rosinski. Van Am is one of the most prolific European authors. He has written hundreds of albums, and Rosinski is one of my favorite artists. Also in the Western genre, I recommend Bouncer, written by Jodorowsky with art by Book. And there's obviously Blueberry by Jean Giraud, also known as Moebius. He started his career with these adventures of Blueberry. Oh my god, I'm showing you not a book from Giraud. This is by Wilson. Just let me pick another one. Although Wilson has a very similar style to the Giraud's Blueberry. Here's some Jean Giraud. But speaking of Moebius, there's obviously his more crazy sci-fi psychedelic works, and there's the Airtight Garage, which has somewhat of a hermetic plot, but absolutely beautiful art. And I would also recommend Arzak, the silent adventures of this strange warrior. But in here, Moebius really gets completely wild in his visual fantasies. Talking about Moebius, there's also the Incal series, which are very well known, and by the same writer of the Incal, Alejandro Jodorowsky, there's the also well-known Metabarons. This is one of the greatest sci-fi series in bande dessinée, with art by Jimenez. And I would like to mention this, which I don't think was ever translated into English. It's The Mercenary by Vicente Segrelles, a Spanish author who oil paints every panel of this series. So it's a very time-consuming but very beautiful panels and pages. Although it lacks a bit of dynamism. The figures always appear to be a bit too static. A classic from the sci-fi genre and produced throughout the 70s is Valérien, or Valérien and Laureline, and this was tremendously influential in Star Wars. There are some visual aspects of Star Wars that were absolutely stolen from this series. Another very famous European author is Anki Bilal, a French born in the former Yugoslavia, who has a very characteristic style and his probably most notable work is the Nicopol trilogy, which I highly, highly recommend. Now, moving to the fantasy or high fantasy genre, written by Van Am with art by Rosinski. There's the famous Torgul, which combines elements of sci-fi and Norse mythology. And by the same duo, probably my favorite bande dessinée ever. Le Grand Pouvoir du Schninkel, which in English would be translated as Schninkel's Great Power. But although this is always on the verge of being translated into English, I don't think it ever was. It is somewhat of an allegory to Christianism, but it's absolutely wonderful. You can find English translations of it online, I believe. And another well-known fantasy series, it's the Quest for the Time Bird by Letendre and Loisel. Another author, very prolific in Europe, is Herman. I prefer when someone else writes for him, and in this case, the writing is by his son. But Herman is a great artist also. And this is from the Bois Maurice series, medieval adventures. Very nice. And Didier Comès, which have passed away just a couple of years ago. And this is my favorite album from him, Silence. This one I have no idea if it ever was translated into English or not. I believe so. It is about this mute guy who is somewhat of the village's fool, but by means of witchcraft he gains a new conscience, a new intelligence, and it's mainly a revenge story. Then Jean-Pierre Gibrat, and this album exactly, I know, was just very recently published in the American market, I believe by IDW. And there's the works of Squeaton and Peters. But if you want to know these two authors in greater detail, please go and visit Earl Grey's YouTube page and find out all about them in the magnificent videos Earl Grey produces. Another author I enjoy very much is Cosé. Is the creator of the well-known series Jonathan. And this is a one-shot from him, which I highly doubt was already translated into English. And just to finish up, I will make a reference to the Italian Mattotti, which has a very peculiar, very colorful, and highly conceptual style, but very highly regarded in the European scene. Now, this is not by far the only interesting books the European bande dessinée market has to offer, but I think it's a good starting point for anyone interested in getting into bande dessinée and starting a collection. There are probably other authors who would deserve a mention, but I couldn't show everybody. Um, but there is one whose work I have never hold in my hands, but I've just recently watched an amazing video again by Earl Grey, and it's Philippe Drouillet. So also check him out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I'll be back soon with another video. Cheers.